Hi friends, I'm Kelsey. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I am on all social media platforms as Essentially Booked. I'm going to be checking in on my stats for the quarter and going back and looking at my video that I posted, which I'll link up here, probably right here. I've already watched it and am just assessing where I'm at as far as what I wanted to do for the year. So first we're gonna look at some stats. Overall, my stats have been pretty good. I have read 44 books so far this year. So I set a goal for 100 books on Goodreads, but my goal is actually like 130 books. Generally, I read at least 120 books. I just kind of wanted to keep it easy knowing that my son is getting older. I have an almost 3-year-old, and so he is more demanding of my time and attention, and so reading has been harder to get in. I'm actually reading more physical books than I expected this year. I thought I'd be reading more audio just because of the age of my child, and honestly, I haven't read that much audio. The other thing that has kind of surprised me is I re-upped my NetGalley account, or like, I didn't necessarily re-up my NetGalley account, I just put more attention into my NetGalley account this year. And I have been getting approved for a lot of things because I have worked with a lot of publishers for a while on the Instagram side of things. I've just gotten a few new partnerships. So I've been getting approved for a lot of eGalleys. So I've actually been reading 3 or 4 NetGalley books a month. These would be advanced reader copies of books. I wasn't expecting that when I filmed my goals for the year. So that's been kind of fun and I'm actually enjoying it a little bit. I think sometimes what people don't understand about this world, this book world, is yes, I love reading, right? We all do. That's why we're here. That's why we're watching these videos. But reading, when you get free books and advanced review copies, sometimes you get more than you ask for, or you just don't think enough. So I suddenly have a ton. I think I have like 98 eGalleys that I need to read. Or I have a lot of physical arcs that I have not gotten to. But sometimes reading feels like a chore because I have these books that I need to read because the publishers have sent them to me. So I'm trying to be more selective. I'm also telling myself I cannot request more NetGalleys unless they're ones that like my publishers that I work with auto approve me and things like that where I really can't control it. But I'm just trying to be more mindful so that I can read, you know, all these books on my physical shelves and just whittle that down a bit. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe that's a lot of pontificating for a video, but it is a fun problem to have. But I think sometimes Bookstagram gets glamorized because we get so many books, and you can get a ton of books for free if you're really like doing this as like a side hustle, a business type thing. Sometimes you bite off more than you can chew. That's the saying. Anyways, we will start with the stats. Okay, so here's kind of my stats so far. So this year I've read 44 books so far. I have read 14,388 pages. 45% of that have been print books and 22% have been digital, 4% have been in the audio format. Like I said, I thought audiobooks would be a lot higher this year based on the stage of life that I'm in. Because like when my child's playing, sometimes I'll pop one in. I don't know why I haven't been doing that. I will say I am doing 27% of my reading is in multiple formats. So I am listening to a lot on audio, I guess, but not necessarily the way where I thought I would solely be listening to books on audio. Multiple format means I'm listening to them and reading them physically at the same time. Or like if I'm hanging off my child, I'm listening to the book, but if I'm alone at night, I'm reading. My child's been going to bed later too, so my night reading has gone from like 3 hours to maybe an hour. So that's just been an adjustment. It's fine. It is the best stage of life right now. It's a good problem to have. 95% of what I've read has been fiction and 5% has been nonfiction. 86% of what I've read have been by female authors and 14% have been by men or non-binary. I would like that non-binary number to be higher. So that's something I'm going to hopefully search out a little bit more this 3 quarters of the year. As far as people of color, 65% of what I've read have been white authors and 35% have been people of color. Again, that's a number I would like to see higher. 43% would be classified as own voices. So that could mean people of color, queer, disability representation, any of that. That's a pretty good number for me. I would, again, love that to be above 50%. 16% of the books I've read have been by queer authors. And 84% of the books I've read have been by cis heteronormative people. So again, wanting to read more queer authors is just something I need to work on. Here's some things that I think are pretty cool. So 56% of what I've read has been backlist, which is good because I'm trying to read the books off my bookshelves. And then 43% have been new releases 2023 on. So that's NetGalley's brand new books. That does not surprise me. 43% of what I've read have been review copies of books, and 25% have been from my own TBR. I would like that number to be higher. And then 25% from the library. Like, I'm a very consistent library user, so that number doesn't bother me at all. In my video, I talked about how I wanted to do a couple reading challenges this year. So one that I do every year is the 2023 Pop Sugar Reading Challenge. So that's by year. I filled this out. I'm doing Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon, and then I'm also doing Gwen's reading challenge, but I think I'm gonna do that at the end of the year and do it in a month and just see what I can get done. The other challenge I've started is the R Fantasy Challenge, and so that one is over a year starting in April. I will not complete that this year, that's fine, but that's just something my prior video will be linked up here that I've done. But like I said, I love reading challenges. And so if there is something that's going to get me to read books that maybe I wouldn't have necessarily prioritized, sign me up. We're going to look at Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon sheet. There are 12 months. Every month has kind of an adjective, a word, whatever. January was Life and Death. I haven't done that yet. I do have a book that I plan to read on that. February was Verbs. I've read Take My Hand. March, the word was Secret, and I read The Secrets of Us. April is Emotions, that's still blank. May, Flavors, I read Honey and Spice. June is blank, and that was Other. July was Weather Words, I did The House is on Fire. August is Body Parts, I have a book coming for that. September, Game Words, I read Fair Play. October, Magic Words, that will be hit pretty soon. November, Good, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. In December is blank still. That was sound related words. So I've done 7 of the 12 months. That's pretty good. Now the Pop Sugar Challenge is 50 prompts, I believe, maybe 60 total because there's an advanced category. And I have read I read 17 of the 60 prompts. That needs to be a little bit higher, but if you're looking at it from like a quarter of the year being read, that's pretty good. This usually is one that I need to specifically pay attention to and find books because there are so many prompts at the end of the year. I don't want to be with like 15 left and then be like really long ones because I know there's one on here, the shortest book, and then one that is the longest book on your TBR. So that one will be one I should, at least the longest one I should probably look into for this year. All in all, good. Okay, and then the other thing that I wanted to prioritize this year were some series, and I haven't done any of those yet, but I do have plans to get them started. So the 2 series I wanted to read was the Emily of New Moon series, and then the Lord of the Rings and like some of the backlist Lord of the Rings universe books. This summer, I'm going to be doing a reread of the Lord of the Rings, and then I think in June, I'm going to do my Emily of New Moon series read. It's just 3 books. So I think I'm gonna do a vlog for that one. But those are coming up. I just haven't started it. The other one, don't know if I'll get to this year. I was very ambitious, maybe. Throne of Glass. I do really want to read this series, but it's a 8-book series, I think. I might be wrong. It's 7 or 8 books. I kind of think I want to do that when I can really commit. And since I have so many commitments already, maybe that's a 2024 thing. I could reach the end of the year and just want some fantasy that's easy to digest. So I could see myself in like December being like, let's start this series and see where I get. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as looking at my goals, reassessing where I'm at. Now I kind of want to do some fun stuff. So my favorite book so far and my least favorite book so far. My reading, I feel like overall has been pretty middle of the road. This year, I've read a lot of 3 stars, but I will say I have a few standouts as far as books that were my least favorite, and I can tell you them pretty easily. So the very first one is the book Pandora. That was a historical fiction about Pandora's box, but not really. This girl's like a part of an archaeology family. Her parents die. She grows up in like their antiquities shop. Her uncle, after her parents' death, becomes the surviving heir because, you know, women in this time can't inherit property. He's a terrible person. There was a lot of needlessly descriptive and graphic sex scenes for characters that were side characters that didn't matter, and it was just gross. The book was boring, and then the relationships were just not fleshed out. Easily one of my least favorite. And then Liar, Dreamer, Thief is probably another one I didn't really enjoy, and that was kind of a sad one because it was a thriller that I thought had potential, and it just kind of crashed and burned. I really couldn't tell you what happened that much. It was just wild, not my style. Some of my favorite books this year, Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was honestly not that excited about this book at all when it was announced because it was just a book about tennis, which I don't really care about tennis. And suddenly I started listening and I could not put it down. It is so good on audio because there's little news blurbs throughout that talk about her from like the BBC. And so there's fun little almost musical news clips. It was just really well produced. Another book that I read that surprised me was Four Treasures of the Sky. And this is about the Chinese Exclusion Act in the US. And it's traumatic all the way through. There's not a happy moment in the story, but it's about a girl who's essentially trafficked to the United States from China in the 1800s. And it's a horrific story. So sad, but so important because I think with the rise of Asian hate crimes, it's an important read. Just understanding the history and the story of Asians coming to America has been very important right now, and how traumatic it was. So good. Another book I really, really enjoyed was Venko. That one I got from Dog Eared Books. I talked about it in like a lot of previous videos. All the stars. I did just read a 5-star nonfiction, which really surprised me, and that was The Stranger in the Woods by Michael Finkel. And it's about this guy who's a hermit, and he just decides to go off the grid and like steals from people to survive. It's just a really fascinating story about him and how he was caught. I had very low expectations for it and ended up loving it. It was very short, very fast reading nonfiction, not boring. Like I said, I've read a lot of like 3-star reads of late. I hope this last 3/4 of the year is a little bit better. So far, it's been a mediocre reading year and I just hope for it to get better. I'm starting to read more of the book of the month books that I think I will like. So the other challenge that I've done for myself this year is I want to read the 57 or so book of the month books that I have on my shelf, and I've read 9 so far. So that obviously needs to increase a bit if I'm going to hit my goal. But like, for example, this month I've read 7. So I think I'll be fine with that. I am overall excited about that. I'm reading more of the books now that I think I'll give 5 stars that like I picked out from Book of the Month. So I think I'll have higher ratings now. I was trying to read some of the ones I was the least excited about. And then, you know, like I ended up being totally surprised by The Stranger in the Woods. So now that I'm kind of getting some of those out of the way, I think I'll start reading way more and I'll be enjoying more. So I'm really hoping my average rating goes up because a 3 is meh. But we will look later down the road and see how my stats are doing and how things are going. I'll continue to check in. That is my quarterly-ish reading assessment. It's actually January through April-ish. So I'm like mid-April, so it's a little bit over a quarter. But we will keep doing these throughout the year just to check in, and then I'll do my year-end wrap-ups per usual. As always, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. If you have not done so, please subscribe if you are liking what you're seeing, and like this, chat, whatever. Just engage with me. I like to talk to people in the comments, and I am really excited to see what this back 3.25-ish, that's not a real number, but you know what I mean, how the rest of the year goes. So until next video, bye.